Hey everybody, this is Pierre Quinn, and you're listening to episode number 67 of the Leading While Green podcast, where my mission is to help you live, learn, and lead with confidence. On this episode of the podcast, we'll be listening to part 2 of my conversation with Anthony Bolden. We've heard about Anthony's story, about how one mentor made all the difference. And then the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about how leaders should move when they feel like they're being nudged to go in a different direction. Well, here's part 2 of that conversation. So listen up. Just want to say happy holidays to you and yours. Before we jump into the conversation with Anthony, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to part 1, episode number 66, part 1 of my conversation with Anthony Bolden. It's a really good conversation. And before you listen to part 2, you kind of need the backstory of part 1. Now, I mentioned on the previous episode that I was going to let you know about the special thing that I was going to do with my course for the holiday season. We're around Thanksgiving, Black Friday, rolling into Christmas. And here's what I decided to do. If you sign up for my course, and there's a limited time to do it on prcquinn.com. If you sign up for my course, for my signature Leading While Green Leadership Intensive, now the course is worth $495, close to $500 with all the content that I've put into the course, and much of this content that I've shared with leadership teams in churches, at retreats, for nonprofits, with corporate executives. I've shared much of this content with many groups across the country, and I'm really giving it to you at a steal at $97. And if you buy the course during this limited season, this limited time, if you buy the course during this holiday season, I'm going to throw in 1 hour of leadership coaching. Now that's worth $127 by itself. Leadership coaching, ideation, helping you get unstuck as a leader based on my experience and working with leaders and teams across the country. If you buy the course at $97, you'll get a 1 free hour. We'll do 1 free hour via Zoom video conferencing of coaching to help you get unstuck with one major issue. And I'm doing all of that for $97. I mean, you cannot beat that. You cannot beat that. $97 gives you lifetime access to my Leading While Green Leadership Intensive, and it gets you 1 hour of free leadership coaching. So sign up for that right now on prcquinn.com. Well, here's my conversation with dynamic leader, speaker, mentor for youth and young adults, and the program manager for P.E.A.K Chicago, Anthony Bolden.
That afternoon for 4th of July weekend, that literally next day I go to Nashville, and I call one of my good friends, Lavina C. Wright. She was the first person I had a conversation with about, like, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. And she was like, Anthony, if somebody else called me, I would question their motives. But because you're calling me and I know you, I actually think you're onto something here. Mm-hmm. And I started to pray. I told my wife, she was my fiance. Was she my fiance at the time? She was my fiance at the time. And I said, hey, babe, what if I told you I don't want to pastor anymore? And she kind of got a little quiet. And she was like, are you sure? And I'm like, I think so. And then she was like, I'm here to support you. So like wherever God is doing in your life, I'm here to follow what God is leading. So we started to pray. And God started to make it very clear, Anthony, I want you to go back. And guys, I want y'all to hear this, how it goes full circle. I want you to go back and serve youth the same way that Mr. Rienzi served you. Like when I started to figure out what I wanted to do, the picture of my mind that kept coming up was Mr. Rienzi and what Mr. Rienzi did for me. And I knew that God was calling me to Chicago. I knew that God wanted me to serve inner city youth. I knew then that God only plucked me out, polished me up, refined me, removed all the impurities, only to send me back in. And that kind of started the journey of the job search. So,
Okay, so before we get into what you transition to currently, let's back up a little bit. This conversation with your wife, that maybe you don't want to pastor anymore. So in our denominational construct, that's not a good thing to say.
It's not
There's
at
all
all.
of these things that come around. Okay, you don't want to pastor anymore. Did you do something stupid? I mean, are
Yeah.
you not called anymore? Was it fake? Could you not handle it? How did you and how are you wrestling with those things? Because that whenever you try to make a major decision, a major career change, a major transition, there are all of these voices, these dissident voices that say, no, this isn't the right thing to do. How are you managing these conversations? So Anthony, you can tell me, you can tell me,
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah. We've had
tell me
some.
why you really left,
Uh-huh.
how have you been wrestling with those?
So, so again, like I told you, I did a lot of praying, and I felt like God put a certain friend in my life for a certain season. Like as soon as I started pastoring, I reconnected with a friend from college that I hadn't talked to in so long. I'm not gonna say her name, but great friend, just loyal. And one of the things I appreciated about her was she was very upset with me when I told her that I was considering not pastoring anymore. Good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent maybe the first 6 months of that journey arguing, going back and forth. Because she and I, we would argue about what it truly meant to be called. And I think God put her in my life to allow me to work through and argue through and wrestle with and question this idea of what it means to be called, because he knew that eventually, like, you can't question that. Like, there's going to have to be a moment of surety if you're going to make it, right? And she would be like, you're supposed to do this for a lifetime and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't believe that. And I don't know. One of the things that I heard somebody say this, I always credit it to my mom, but I really don't know if it was my mom. But somebody told me one day, or I heard it said that your calling is not an occupation. And when I started to consider my journey, that made so much sense to me. And when I look at like all the opportunities that I had, like, I mean, I got hired as a pastor without a theological degree. I studied music. Everybody thought I was the praise and worship leader. Even now, people are still, yo, man, now that you got some time, can you come lead worship at my church? However, I mean, I pastored. And I think I was a highly effective pastor. I had gifts in preaching. Was I the world's best preacher? I don't think so, but I thought I did well at that. And I mean, I understood my church. My church loved me. So it wasn't like, oh, things are going bad. If anything, things were getting increasingly better at the church. I was getting calls to become the senior pastor at certain churches, but God just kept telling me, this is not what I have for you. So when people would kind of give me that, especially at this conference that we have, is actually coming up. I'm so sad I won't be there, but this conference called P.E.A.K, where all our ministerial colleagues, they come down and we train and we, fellowship together. It was during those P.E.A.K moments that the fire was hot.
Yeah.
You're sitting at the restaurant table and people are looking at you like, man, what you talking about? You don't want to pastor. And having to explain to them that I felt that God was calling me to minister within my purpose, within my gifting, within the context of my story to a population that I just have a intimate knowledge of, that kind of emboldened me to say, God is able to use me in other places. And I want to say to anybody who's feeling trapped in any occupation that you don't have to be anywhere, that God did not call you to, like, you are not your position. You are a child of God, right? You are a minister for God, for those who are Christian, right? And then for those who aren't, like, if you are working in a certain context, you're not the job. So I stopped letting people like call me pastor sometimes, because I don't walk around calling nurses like nurse this or nurse that, or bus driver this. No, I call them by their name and they do this type of work, but they could also do something else. And when I was freed from that, I don't know, this box of saying purpose is only found in, denominational work. I don't know. the world opened up to me. And I think God said to me in that moment, wow, how much more could I do with people, with your people, if they would take off the blinders and realize that there is this whole world that needs ministering to, and that the one way that you are very skilled at doing it may not be the exact way that I want you to do it. So I know I've kind of went loops and dupes around it, but that's kind of the long and the long and short of it all. I mean, he put a person in my life to challenge me. That challenge helped me find clarity and find conviction. And once I found that conviction, nothing was stopping me.
There's a book called, the book is called The Call by Oz Guinness. It was one of the books that I read while I was in seminary, and I reread it a couple of months ago. And Oz Guinness speaks to that, this notion or idea of calling is not just relegated to professional ministry, that everyone has a calling or purpose that they're supposed to live out in their lives. And sometimes we let people off the hook because we say, well, pastors or ministers are called and the rest of us kind of just skate by and get through life. But he challenges that notion. And an individual I saw who really maximizes this is John Maxwell, one of the grandfathers of leadership development.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't know about John Maxwell is that John Maxwell's end game, it is, with all the books that he's written, all his trainings around the world, his end game is to introduce people to his faith.
Wow.
Like he says that my end game is to introduce people to my faith and to the God that I believe in. And the way that I do that is through leadership training and through leadership development. So I think if we just took a step back and allow God to let us imagine the possibilities, life would be a lot different.
Like, Pierre, think about it like this. And I love everything you just said. I just think about, like, I don't think we take enough time to even look at biblical evidence that we have of this truth, right? We got Josephs and Daniels and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I mean, these are people fulfilling callings, but not necessarily in a prophet. Because, I mean, the Bible's filled with these prophets. There weren't really pastors back then, right? So all these they weren't prophets. Daniel changed people's lives through being a great publican, or if you would, being a great political leader. I mean, he stood up for his faith when that time was. He lived out a life, a good example of what it meant to be an Israelite or a Hebrew person, someone that believed in God. And I think we need people of faith in spaces that we aren't often found.
That's good.
We need Christian lawyers, Christian politicians. We need Christian doctors, nurses. We need Christian biochemists and engineers. We need to be in every single space so that that love of God can be influenced all over the world. But if we're only in our own places, in our churches, ministering to ourselves, what good are we?
So tell us the story, man. This story about how the job that you have now, how you got this job. You're leaving, a premier opportunity for a young pastor with opportunities to continue to serve as a pastor across the country. And you transition because there's a deep connection to your history and to your upbringing. I mean, this is crazy. What's your job now?
Yeah, man.
And how did you get it?
So I am the program manager for the Partnership to Educate and Advance Kids. And so what we do, I'll start with what we do and how I got it. So what we do is, it's an amazing program and I love it. What we do is we target academically average kids coming out of the south and west side of Chicago. And those kids who are coming out of grade school, so we're talking about 6th through 8th grade, if they come out of that school and they are academically average, that means they're, struggling with C average grades, maybe a D plus, maybe a B minus. They're scoring low on their entrance exam testing to most of the high schools. We target those kids because what we believe is that there are tons of programs for the cream of the crop. There are tons of programs for kids who have those behavior issues, like that low end of the spectrum, tons of social programs for them. Not enough programs for kids who are just average, who are like me, who needed a kick in the butt, who needed maybe some exposure, who needed a mentor. And so what we do is we've partnered for over 21 years with a a private Catholic high school called Holy Trinity High School. Amazing school, right downtown Chicago. Small, intimate school, 350 students. And through that partnership, we take students and give them a full tuition scholarship to Holy Trinity. And then once the student goes to Holy Trinity, we pair every single one of our P.E.A.K kids. We call them P.E.A.K kids because it's a hyphen, what do you call those things? Acronym, a hyphen. So yeah, we take each one of our kids and we give them a one-on-one mentor. And that mentor, before we pair them with our kid, must commit to a 4-year commitment with one kid. And we walk through high school with them.
That's good.
So the kid now is given the resources to thrive in a values-based, academically challenging and conducive environment. They're given a mentor who will walk through life with them, who is an example of success, because we're not just getting any mentors, we're getting the best Chicago has to offer. I mean, literally the best. So, I mean, one of our former mentors is a federal prosecutor for Chicago. Another one is a principal member for one of the largest Forbes 500 companies in our city. I mean, just amazing, amazing mentors. And that's what we do. We offer tons of supplemental programs throughout that program for that relationship between the mentor and the scholar to thrive and to grow. And what we've seen is when we give the students a great scholarship, a great education, a great mentor, and we support their parents through this all, they always go off to be successful. So that's the job. It was everything that literally, if you've been listening, that's me, right? Like Mr. Rienzi gave me this experience to go to Choate. He was my mentor. He put me in an environment that was different, that was challenging. And then, that changed my life. So when I saw that posting, God was like, this is for you. And I remember applying on Indeed.com. I spent so many days on Indeed.com, boy.
Shouts out to Indeed. They're not sponsoring us, but Indeed has got a lot of people through.
Yeah, man. Thank you, Indeed. We bless you for your ministry. So, but Indeed, I applied, and I remember telling my wife, babe, I just applied to this amazing job. It's such an amazing place, and check out this website, watch this video. And, the excitement for the first 2 days, it starts to wear off, right? Because there's always this excitement when you apply to a new job. You feel like this is the one. And then like every other job, because for the folks who don't know, I have been applying to jobs for like a year and 2 months. I told my senior pastor in September of 2017 that I was leaving. And September 2010 had passed, and I was still applying to jobs. So here I am applying again and believing that this is.
Hold on. I got to stop you here. I need you to underscore this again. The time between you. What's the time frame, the space between when you had that nudge and you were clear, you're going to make this step, and then finally getting that new job and finally transitioning? How long was that? So
I got the nudge on July 1 of 2017. I did not get an offer for a job until September 14 of 2018. So that's over a year of hoping and praying and believing and hoping and praying and believing, and people saying, are you sure? And people saying, man, maybe this is God saying you shouldn't be doing this. Like, and still saying, no, my blessing is on the way. God's going to show up. The wife crying and like not knowing, like, well, I don't even know what's going to happen in our future. You're saying you're going here and we haven't seen anything. And trying to figure out, like, you're newly married, like, where am I going to live? And now I'm living in Spring Hill because I'm believing God that he's about to send me to Chicago. But living in Spring Hill means that I have to drive an hour and a half to my church every single day. That's 3 hours on the road. I got to be there at 9 a.m. I got to stay there sometimes to 11 p.m. And I got to keep doing that and keep believing that God's going to do it. I know he's going to do it. And yet he wasn't doing it. He was saying, nope, there's still lessons you got to learn. Nope, you still need a little bit of this. Nope, you still need a little bit of that. So I say all that to say, I applied to this job and I hear nothing. A week passes and I say to Lauren, I said, babe, I think I need to apply like on the website. I just really believe this job. Do you think that'll be a little too hype? And she was like, is there a posting on the website? I'm like, no. And we like kind of agree, like, yeah, it might be a little hype. However, she was like, well, go ahead and apply, right? And just write a nice email saying why you're doing it and why you really want it. So I write this nice email, and then I don't hear nothing. During that time, I get a call to become a senior pastor at a church and another conference. I consider it. At this point, I'm just ready to go. I'm starting to think too, like, maybe this is God. Like, I don't know. But the wife is like, this don't line up with what you've been praying about. This is not what you say you want to do. You need to imagine yourself 6 months into this thing. Are you going to be looking back to Chicago? And I'm like, yep. And that's why it's important who you watch, who's in your circle, right? But we ain't got time to unpack that. So I said, I turned the job down, and it hurt my heart to turn this thing down because it was the only door, right? It was the only door that was open at the moment. Like other door, and I had so many doors that had opened. I was closing these doors. I'm like, oh my goodness, God, like, why do you keep opening these doors and then showing me that this is not the door? It became so frustrating. So I closed this door, and I remember I closed the door that Wednesday night. Friday evening, me and the wife are just kind of sitting, getting ready for the Sabbath, and I get a call. And it's one of the board members from P.E.A.K, the company I work for now. And she says, Anthony, is this Anthony Bolden? I'm like, yes. She says, oh man, it's so good to talk to you. We were looking through our resumes on Indeed and our site went down. However, we went to our email and we saw that your resume and cover letter was in our email. So we decided to look at it. And we read the cover letter, and we had to call you right now because what you wrote was so touching. Now, Pierre, oh man, this is so powerful, right? Like reliving this is crazy. Pierre, I would write that cover letter over and over and over for every single job. I never sent the same cover letter. I wrote a unique cover letter for every job. Now, I remember what I wrote. I mean, I was like, God, I'm writing the best script I can write. I need them to fill it. And they felt it. And when I tell you, the rest it was the smoothest interview process I went through in my life. It was the longest, but it was the smoothest. I had like 6 interviews. However, every interview wasn't really like, can you really do this? As much as like, tell me about yourself. Tell me your story. And Pierre, I'll tell you, everything that I was, the youth, young adult pastor who worked at this church, who had this great intimacy and knowledge of inner city communities, who was a good administrator because he was challenged by his boss to be one. Like that's all they wanted. Like that's who they wanted. Like on paper compared to the other applicants, I couldn't stand up. I mean, they had people who worked for the University of Chicago, who were program managers at multiple nonprofits in the city, who knew Chicago better than me. I mean, multiple. I wasn't in the short list. She told me that. She was like, I want you to understand. I had my secretary put together a short list and it was hundreds. She was like, we had hundreds of applications. She's like, you did not make that short list. She's like, so the fact that we found this resume and the fact that every conversation with you that we're having is almost like a spiritual experience. Like we get chills bumps. Like we knew this was you. So she was like, she told me this after they gave me the job. We interview other people, but we only did it as formality. And she was like, these were qualified people, but this was your job. And I like when that happened, I mean, I just knew like mind blown. I mean, and I'll say this finally. I told God and me and my wife, this is how we knew if we were to say yes. We said, God, it needs to pay a certain amount because you got to provide for the family. I need to be able to transition at the right time. But more than that, I need to feel like I'm not forcing it. Like I need to literally feel like you gave it to me. And that's what happened. Every single thing. They pay me what I asked for. They let me start work when I asked to start work. And I didn't have to fight one bit. I just literally had 6 conversations and the rest is history.
How many cover letters did you write?
Bro, it had to be over 100.
And I need those of us who are listening to really get this in terms of passion, in terms of calling, in terms of this desire to lead and to make a difference in the lives of other people. It usually does not come right when you get the impulse.
Yep.
And that's what gets a lot of us. You have this clear sense of calling, this clear sense of direction. And then when it doesn't happen in a month, you put everything down and you forget about it. But Anthony is saying it was over a year and 2 months,
Yep.
hundreds of cover letters and resumes and an Indeed job postings later. He's finally at the place where everything that he's gone through has come to bear on this particular job. Anthony, as we're closing this up, and we want to put all your stuff in the show notes.
Yeah.
Before we get to those shameless plugs, just kind of speak to the emerging leaders who have a gift, who have a sense of calling, who know that they're supposed to do something, but they're waiting on clarity, or they're waiting on the opportunity to match up with their giftedness or calling.
Listen, man, if there's one piece of advice I can give anyone who's listening to this podcast, is that belief goes longer than you believe. I mean, it goes longer than, better, I can say this better. Somebody said this to me, and I think this is what changed the whole process. It's okay to doubt. It really is okay to doubt. And like when you're dealing with like faith and believing in what God is saying to you, or believing what's in your gut, this process is going to be hard. And I don't want you to be convinced that you're not supposed to do what you actually know you're supposed to do, because it's the thing you think about every single time you wake up. It's the thing that burns in your gut. It's the thing that, you don't know why it's there, but it continues to show itself. It continues to come back up. Like those things, that journey, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough, but like you just have to believe. You have to keep believing. You have to, even when nothing is happening, you just got to kind of keep moving in the direction of that dream. And it does not happen sometimes in a month. It doesn't happen sometimes in a year. Sometimes it takes longer than that. But the difference from people who have taken possession of what's rightfully theirs is their audacity to believe, even in the face of everything that is opposite of what their faith is saying. Right? Everything was opposite for me. I was still stuck at my church, and I don't want to say stuck because I enjoyed it, but I was still there, and I wanted to be somewhere else. But I did not stop believing. And even when people challenged me, I didn't stop believing. And I think the only reason that I was able to have or take possession of what I have is not because I had the greatest cover letter. It wasn't because I'm the greatest employee on my resume. It's just filled with great experiences, because I was kind of really switching careers. I think it's because literally I believed that it was mine. I kept claiming it, and I would not stop claiming it until I took possession of it. So for the leader who's kind of, oh, I don't know if I should. I mean, the best thing that you can do is start and just keep on going until it's yours, and it will become yours. I know it's not fancy. I can't say it in any fancier way. I'm not the most eloquent with words, but all I can do is tell you the truth. You got to start, and you got to believe the entire time. That's the only things you can do. Every morning, get up and keep going, because eventually you will arrive there. And I don't know, you're going to be better for it. So I hope that helps somebody. But you just got to believe, folks. I mean, that's it. You really do. You got to believe.
I love how even in trying to put it into words, you're underscoring for us that it takes a lot. It takes a lot, and you got to keep. I think that's probably the capstone of what we've been talking about today. Just get up every day and keep going.
Yeah.
Anthony, give us some plugs, man. Social media, this Embolden podcast that you're on, and we'll put everything in the show notes so people can keep up with you.
Yeah, man, please check out the podcast. Right now we are on an extended hiatus because I'm actually about to start writing a book. Yeah. So I'm excited about that.
Sir.
But please check out the 43 episodes we do have of the Embolden Podcast. It's available on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcast app that you can use, like Overcast and some of those other things. I think it's extremely empowering and emboldening for most people. So check it out. I love doing it, and I'll be dropping episodes more, when it's convenient to me. But I'm gonna write this book. That's the new goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the new challenge. And then just follow me on my personal stuff, man. I think I try to lead a life of transparency and honesty there. So my personal Instagram, that's the best outlet, is Bolden _leads, LEADS. And then also check out the organization I work for. I mean, I've never really been in a place where it's like I really, really believe in the mission so much, and I really do. So I don't mind even talking about what I do. So follow them at P.E.A.K, P.E.A.K Chicago, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. It's an amazing organization. If you plan on giving on Giving Tuesday, I think that's a great place to put your donations. Every single one of those funds goes to paying tuition for 41 kids. And then by 2020, we're going to be giving 70 kids scholarships to go to private school and get a world-class education. I'm talking about kids who come from communities where the teachers don't want to be there, and they have to, they're there because they have to. And being able to place a kid in a place where a teacher wants to be there and wants to teach them and understands what they're going through, I mean, that's life-changing. And I think that'll change not only the lives of the scholar, of that kid, but it's going to change communities. Because when we educate our kids properly and we really, go to bat for them to change their lives, that makes our communities better. So yeah, I'm involved with P.E.A.K because I want to make Chicago better. I want to make the west and south side of Chicago just as clean and safe as the north and the suburbs. So I don't know. I think make a difference where you can, but I believe in this organization. So those are the things that mean a lot to me. Those are the ways you can follow what I'm doing. And I just want to thank you, Pierre. I know I'm a long-winded guy, so I know it's probably going to be one of his longest podcasts, but I thank you so much, Pierre, for the opportunity to allow me to share the story and what I went through. And I'm just excited to see what's next for me, man.
Man, that's the end of a great conversation with Anthony Bolden. The second part of that conversation, and hopefully you had a chance to go back and listen to part one of Anthony's incredible story and how he's being called to make a difference today. And it's just a reminder for us as leaders that things don't always follow a straight line. The plan or idea or vision that we had at one stage may not be the same one we have at another stage. And we got to be willing to follow the pivot when we're nudged to go in a different direction. I want to encourage you to hop over to prcquinn.com and check out this Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday special that I got going on with my leadership course for $97. For $97, you're getting close to $700 worth of good stuff. For $97, you get lifetime access to my Leading While Green signature course and 1 hour. I'm throwing in 1 hour of leadership coaching. And you can check that out at prcquinn.com for a limited time. You want to sign up. Hop over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review and some comments. Let other people know about this Leading While Green journey that we're on. And have a happy holidays. That's all we got for this episode. So until next time, take care and God bless.